Hi, Katie.
Hi, Andy.
Welcome. This is Two Girls Who Scare Easily, and we talk about spooky shit around Colorado. So,
Yes, we do.
buckle up. I am excited for this one. This is essentially like an old-timey tabloid drama.
Yes, thank God. Thank God.
So it is a cult, but it's like early turn of the century cult, and almost all the resources that I could find for it were newspapers from the time.
Good.
And so they're just like reporting on this drama, and it's very fun. And then it might be a little short, so if we have time at the end, I'm going to do like an old-timey disaster. So
Nice.
if not, we'll save it for
Did the
our
cult
spookery later.
contribute to the disaster, or are they unrelated?
No, they're unrelated.
Okay. I do
Would have
wish
been fun.
that would have been so fun. I do wish that we had effects so that I could cue up like a muted trumpet and then just have smoke, and suddenly now we're in black and white and just be like, mercy.
Talking with those radio accents.
Yeah.
I can't. That was bad.
The transatlantic
Transatlantic,
accent.
yeah. People would
Okay.
hate us. It would end so quickly.
But I would like us. And it's my show.
Right?
Our show.
This is just to entertain us.
That's how it started. Okay.
Okay.
Take me back.
It's actually mostly about the cult leader himself.
Okay.
This is a man named Joshua W. Sykes. He was born around 1856 and was a Pentecostal preacher.
Already starting good.
Starting strong. I'm not well versed in the various flavors of Christianity, so I looked up as I smack my microphone. So, Pentecostal theology is a Protestant Christian movement that emphasizes the Holy Spirit's gifts, such as speaking in tongues and supernatural healing.
Yeah, meant to reference the day of the Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit came down and touched the disciples and gave them the spiritual gifts.
So, fun. That's a fun start. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's as a former speaker in tongues. It's wild.
I'm going to need some more Katie story time. That's for later.
That's another time. There's speaking in tongues, there's prophecy, there is and is not, there's spiritual movement, which could be dancing if your particular flavor of Christianity is okay with dancing. But if it's not, then it's not dancing. It's just movement.
Okay, so excited about this. Some of his titles that the newspapers reported or gave him include the self-styled potentate. Potentate? How do you?
I think it's potentate.
Potentate? Okay.
Yeah.
The self-styled potentate of heaven and the head of the tabernacle of David. Self-styled Jehovah, King of the universe, author of the Bible and prophet of the tabernacle of David, and King supreme of the world.
Again, I say, you can't just give yourself a nickname. It has to be given to you, or it has no weight.
It was given to him by God.
In his head only. Oh, okay. He really, really just went for it. Not even I'm the mouthpiece. He's no, I am God. King of the universe?
King of the universe and author of the Bible. That's the best-selling book in the world.
So you authored the book that you then read as a kid, you know what? Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
You're
So sorry.
thinking too hard here.
I forgot that it's okay that things just don't make any sense. Okay.
Sometimes.
So
So
he's humble for sure.
very humble.
Yeah.
Very.
Not wanting
Very
the
meek.
spotlight.
It sounds like a lot of his beliefs and teachings were influenced / evolved around the same time as like the Watchtower movement.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is a real bad Jehovah's Witness branch.
Mm-hmm.
He proclaimed early in his career that he was an anti-Trinitarian chosen by Jehovah, which is
okay.
Interesting, because that means like he doesn't do the whole Father, Son, and Holy Spirit thing, even though Pentecostal is like all about the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting choice. He actually like estranged the other Pentecostal ministers of the time because he would baptize people in the name of Jesus Christ instead of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
So he was making waves early.
So if he believes himself to be Jehovah, does he also then believe himself to be Jesus Christ? If you're baptizing people in the name of Jesus Christ, what is his take on the old JC?
You know, it's hard to tell because all I have are these newspaper clips, but he seems to be a fan. I think he's using Jehovah as like a title rather than meaning God.
Okay.
It's like his cult leader title. I don't know.
Why even try to dive into the mind of a cult leader? Why? Why would I do that? There's a certain point where it reaches the level of irrationality and absurd that you just can't follow along because you're not that.
You just have to get the popcorn and watch. Like, where is this going?
Nowhere good.
Sometimes just nowhere.
sometimes nowhere.
Yep.
Okay.
So, we're going to really pick up 1906. He establishes the I did not think through how many of these words I don't know how to pronounce. Apostolic? Apostolic?
Yes. Apostolic.
Okay. He established the Apostolic Church in East Los Angeles. He did not gain any favor. So this is like the one rad thing that he did. He did not gain favor by practicing racial and gender integration as early as 1908.
Cool.
So he had an African-American preacher that he was working with, Elder H.A. Garrison, and an African-American woman, Mrs. Mary Taylor, helping him hold these meetings on West 10th Street.
If he had just stayed doing that, that's amazing. That's what you should be doing if you're going to consider yourself a member of the church, is like practice love and acceptance and create positive social bonds in the community and be like a champion of integration. That's like, but then they never stay there. God damn it.
No. And it's really interesting because he started there, right? And he kind of veers into hippie before like going off the deep end.
Mm-hmm. Also pretty normal.
Yeah. Yeah. So during the month of July, the police were called multiple times to protect them because they were being threatened by local residents. And in the newspapers from the time, they claim that the sole purpose of their meetings was rending the night hideous by their delirious ravings after they had been worked up to a state of frenzy that borders on the insane.
That sounds like a Pentecostal tent revival.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we have.
That's what that is. That's whip yourself into a frenzy. No drugs involved.
No, it's like a weird group think mob mentality thing going on.
Mm-hmm. Bit of a spiritual fervor. You might
Exactly.
say they would consider that the Holy Spirit came down and touched their souls. I will save my personal experiences with that supposed phenomenon for another time.
Yeah, that's fair. This whole thing is just so funny. So the three leaders, the Joshua Sykes and Garrison and Mrs. Mary Taylor, were all charged with disturbing the peace. But the court made a mistake when they notified the witness of the trial date, and so the witness never showed up, and the case was dismissed.
Ha ha!
It's just like zany antics this whole way through. It's super fun.
Good.
So
This is good. Good. I like those.
We're gonna skip ahead now to World War I, and this is where we get like into the hippie era, into our hippie phase. So Sykes forbids his followers from being employed in anything having to do with the manufacturing of military equipment, supplies, and materials, as well as from joining the military to fight for the U.S. or supporting the American Red Cross.
Because the Red Cross is in the war effort, and they are, if you're that staunch of a pacifist, then you can't support any of it, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
I think the Red Cross was doing good. Okay.
Again,
so he was across the board, do not have anything to do with it.
Exactly. And so he starts telling his followers that they're not actually citizens of the United States, but of the kingdom of heaven.
Mm.
And this is where it starts to go off the rails. It was a short. Yeah. So on June 2nd, 1916, the San Francisco Chronicle ran an article with the title, "Anointed by Lord Claims Colt's Head / predicts world's end in 1959 when he will have gathered chosen people."
Okay.
Doomsday cult.
Doomsday cult. So he's really just hitting every single marker of a high control group. He starts with the cool stuff. Hey man, we're all equal. We're all children of God. And you think, yeah, for sure. And then anti-war, anti-violence, pro-pacifist. Okay. Yeah, sure. But then he starts leading in with the whole, we're not. The only thing tying us together is our spiritual bond and creating paradise here on earth. By the way, I'm God. By the way, world's gonna end. Wowza.
No, this is like a true classic.
And he gave a date too. That's a bold choice to give an exact date. Now, at this time, it would have been like, what, so much in the future that...
like 30, let me see. Like 45 years.
Okay.
Ish.
So far enough out that you can still do a lot of... You can control people for a really long time. Because now you can flex that date whenever you want to.
Like these days, I would say picking a date is like a rookie mistake, but this is like OG cult times. So there's, they're figuring it out.
Okay.
Now, like I said, we're going downhill. Sykes said that the millennium started in 1914 when the Germans started doing God's work. Sorry, God's bidding.
What?
So we're like, just before World War II, and he's like, yeah, those Germans, they got it going on.
That even in the First World War, the war that he was like not vibing with, but they were doing God's bidding.
Yeah, again, logic, non-existent.
I don't see how is God's bidding a shockingly inbred European royal system where everyone was legit related to each other. And then bonus, they were all, as far as like treaties go, just in one long, high stakes, underhanded poker game where they all said that they would be allies of or enemies of each other. I don't know. Okay.
I mean, God works in mysterious ways.
I don't really think that mustard gas is how the Lord works.
Did he make the... I don't even know. What goes into mustard gas?
Mustard gas is not made of mustard, Auntie.
No, I know that. I'm like, wait, what is it made of?
I'm pretty sure it's chlorine-based. Like,
I think it's,
you mix
chlorine plus
bleach
ammonia.
and ammonia. But
yeah, something like that. Anyway. So this is where he's really like, he's doubling down on the I am a cult leader vibes. And so he claimed that Jesus stayed with him for a day and a night in 1890, appointing him to conduct the work of gathering 144,000 chosen people for the kingdom of heaven, which I believe is the same number as Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
Yeah. He planned to do this.
I'm still on the
You're still on
mustard gas.
I should know. I was
mustard gas
researching
is
it for a different
made
story.
with a sulfur. Hang on.
Is it like bleach plus sulfur instead?
So they have very similar effects. So mustard gas is sulfur mustard. At room temperature, it's colorless, odorless, oily liquid. And then when they spray it, it forms a heavy vapor that gets in and like boils your lungs from the inside out.
Fun.
So it is it's a sulfur-based liquid that can turn into gas in the right environment and kill you. But
I think bleach plus ammonia is chlorine gas, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. And
either way, it will kill
you're never
you, so
supposed
don't do that.
Yeah, you're never supposed to mix those two together.
Don't clean up your pet's mess with bleach.
Never.
PSA of the day.
Don't do that. Yes, so when you mix bleach and ammonia together, it releases chloramine gas, which was also a version of gas that was used in World War I. And that is why they have very similar effects. They will cause your lungs to liquefy from the inside out. Really, any soft tissue that's in your body, but eyes, lungs, all our squishy bits. Anyways, that's not
super fun. Okay. So, he's gathering 144,000 people for the kingdom of heaven. He plans to do this by 1959, which is when the world is going to end. And he said, at that time, the world will reverse its axis. Instead of revolving on a north and south axis, it will move on an east and west axis. The Garden of Eden will be restored to its original place in Yellowstone Park. Noah's Ark, which was built in California and moved from here to Asia, will be returned to California. I think that's my favorite. My favorite, like, weird cult theories are when, like, the Bible happened in America.
There are people who believe that now.
I know. And I'm just like, guys.
It didn't, and no, we don't.
I mean, really, it all boils down to, like, thinking that you are the center of the universe, and you are in California, so clearly the Garden of Eden and Noah's Ark had to be in California, because otherwise, why would God have put you there?
Yeah, why would I have put myself here? Because remember, he is God. Yellowstone is Eden. Now look, Yellowstone's a beautiful place, folks. It's wonderful. Gorgeous.
I'm sorry, side note. Have you been following the national parks social media?
Yes. Because I donate to them. So
spicy.
I donate to them and I love it. Let's get spicier.
I'm so here for it. I love it. Support your national parks. Anyway.
Always. It's a gorgeous park. I would describe it as Eden-like. Yes, absolutely. I'm curious as to how he realized or came up with the idea that the world was going to flip how it spins. Was he just sitting in his living room and then thought to himself, yeah, that's how it'll happen? Like, he got just enough knowledge about how the planets move to be dangerous, but not enough to fully understand how it works?
I mean, probably. I also just realized I was confusing Yellowstone and Yosemite. Yellowstone is not in California. It is in Wyoming-ish.
Yeah. Did he think it was Yosemite or did he think it was California?
I think he thought it was Yellowstone.
Okay.
I think it was Yellowstone. I mixed that up in my head.
Yosemite, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Eden-like, for sure. Yeah, loved going there as a kid. Absolutely beautiful. Did not realize that at the time we went there on a family vacation, there was also a serial killer murdering people.
Wait, Yosemite or Yellowstone?
Yosemite.
Which serial killer?
Unfortunately, I do believe there's been a few that were around Yosemite. But let's...
Okay. Side note. We'll come back to it.
Yes. Continue your story. This is the most important part.
So at this point, he's moved to kind of the Berkeley, San Francisco area, and he has a fenced-in tent tabernacle that he calls the Church of the Living God. And what we know about this tabernacle is that it includes a prayer room, which was described as such. In the center of it is erected a golden basket, from which protrude 4 golden horns. On 4 sides of the casket are kneeling rails and padded headrests. Here, for hours, the anointed, who have access to the room, pray to Elohim.
So he made the Ark of the Covenant for himself?
That is, in fact, what it sounds like. And it's like the early 1900s of it. So I'm like not picturing like a good quality, like this is solid gold. I'm picturing like...
It was like painted.
Yeah.
Maybe gold leaf. It's definitely a lead-based paint. Whatever the case may be.
100%. And they're just putting their faces in it. And also, like, I don't know. Feels pretty... I don't think you're supposed to do that anymore. Like, per the 10 Commandments, New Testament vibes. I don't think they like you bowing down to golden
Bowing down to golden idols. I mean, yeah,
it's kind of a gray area.
You weren't even supposed to see the Ark. The Ark was supposed to be contained in the same room that God was in, the Holy of Holies, which you were not allowed to go in there. But as he is God, he can change the rules.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's the master of the universe. King of the universe, but why not? Let's add a title. Master of the universe.
Master. I'm sure he'd be here for it.
Yeah.
So apparently, their lamentations were so loud that neighbors petitioned to the police to have them kicked out.
Okay.
And if you have your cult bingo card out, there were also allegations made to the police that a dozen middle-aged women left their husbands to follow Sykes' teachings.
Boom! There it is. That's a free space. That happens in all cults.
Right. He responded that these men were excommunicated from the church for heresy.
Of course. Saying, I would prefer that you don't sleep with my wife, heresy.
Heresy.
How
you don't get to see the
dare
Ark.
you? You don't. Then get out. It's amazing what the term heresy is used to just wipe away. Most of the time, it's valid criticisms of authority figures' behavior in the church. But you just
Katie.
claim heresy. Sorry.
You're bringing that logic in again.
Sorry. He's God, and I should not question him.
Exactly. So on July 1st, 1916, this is about a month later, after we find out that the world is ending and he's on this mission and whatnot, a newspaper article in the San Francisco Examiner states that Sykes was arrested for the second time in a week in Berkeley for maintaining his tabernacle after he was denied a permit. So he just threw up his tent city. Was like, this is where God told me to be. And the city's like, no, it's not. And he's like, nah.
He just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Later that month, in an issue of the Daily Telegram, they say, following the secret excommunication of John C. Clark, an elder in the Church of the Living God, a warrant has been issued charging him with a statutory offense against Louise E. Dean, the 14-year-old daughter of another elder. This gets
Statutory event.
iffy.
I feel like I know what that means. Ew.
We don't get details. We don't get more details. Sykes said, I personally told Dean of Clark's conduct, and I am prepared to offer a reward for Clark's capture and punishment if he is guilty. Okay. So, there's at least the show of not being okay with this and doing something about it. I have questions about, like, if he knew that this was happening and then he excommunicated him, why didn't he, like, hold him and give him to the police? Or, like, you know, I don't know.
Who knows? There's a lot of religious organizations will base it on we need to handle it in group first and, like, not involve the authorities.
That's true. He seems pretty anti-authority overall.
But it could have also been that, like, it just didn't serve him to go to the police.
Mm-hmm.
Or they thought he wouldn't be believed, or there was some sort of extraneous information. I mean, this was the 1900s of it all.
Exactly. That's true. So we're going to jump ahead about 2 years when we find Mr. Sykes in the news again. From the Tacoma Times, the tent, tabernacle, and cottages of the Church of the Living God were in ruins today, following the third visit of a mob of University of California students last night. So,
The third visit?
Visit. In this particular incident, 300 students broke up the services, smashed the furniture, and set fire to the tabernacle.
Hell yeah! Yes! That's what we like to see.
No attempt was made to arrest them.
That is the definition of not here. Not in our community. Do what you want, but you're not going to do it here.
Well, this was also, like, in the World Wars times, from what I have picked up. Admittedly, it's not, like, a super big interest of mine, but there was a lot of, like, patriotism and, like, come together, support the war efforts, support our soldiers, and he was, like, the opposite of that.
Okay, so he's back on his pacifist.
Yeah, this is only 1918, so he's still on that train.
Okay.
He's just also, like, ramping up the cult.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, 1918 America has been involved in the war. And the Spanish influenza is breaking out. There's a lot of chaos going on.
Yeah. The article notes that Pastor Joshua Sykes had been accused of preaching pacifism, and apparently he had also, like, torn down an American flag, and it got people all up in arms.
Okay. Well, maybe now I amend my original statement. I thought that they were going to go after him because he was being
of the cult
creepy
shit.
and gross. And, like, that's cool. But no, now it's this whole you have to be nationalistic in our country's time of need. And
Yeah.
I,
It's a bit. Yeah.
I myself am pretty pacifist, so sometimes that can garner negative attention.
Yeah. That opens a whole.
He's just a poo-poo head, and so I want him to get got for being a poo-poo head.
Realistically, it was a weird tent city tabernacle with people yelling all the time. And they were like, you know what? This is the reason. Sure. Let's go with that.
And Northern California is not used to Bible Belt Pentecostal tent revival services. Those are part and parcel in the South. That's what you do on a weekend.
It's a little bit more removed usually, though, isn't it? Isn't it like, in somebody's field? It's not like in the center of the city.
That depends.
I could be wrong.
I mean, it's wherever they can get space. So if you can host a revival in a church, then that's great.
That's true.
But if you can't, and you usually are needing to find someone to do it for free,
I just always assume, like, I lump them in the same locale bucket as, like, traveling carnivals.
A similar vibe. Okay.
It's like a big tent, a big dirt parking lot. That's in my head. That's what it is. So,
yeah. There are sometimes
it's a different colored tent.
It is a different color tent, and they're not selling like popcorn and corn dogs and lemonade. And the only animals are selling snakes.
Spiritual healings
for a small donation, for a tiny fee.
Continue. Okay, so a week later, Sykes leaves California not because they tore down his church, or burned down his church.
No,
because he's had a vision as to the location of the Garden of Eden, which is not actually in Yellowstone. It's somewhere in the vicinity of Denver.
It's where DIA is now.
That's why Lucifer lives there.
And that is why Lucifer is the archangel that is.
It wasn't a flaming sword at all.
No, it was laser eyes and a blue horse. Okay? And they didn't have the terms to describe him at that point. So Lucifer is the archangel protecting the gates to the Garden of Eden, which is actually the exact same location as Denver International Airport. And that is why we have tunnels and lizard people.
Oh my God.
My own personal headcanon. We've cracked it. And he knew this.
One of these days when we do DIA, that is going in that story.
Because when I think the metropolitan area of Denver in the 19-teens, I imagine paradise on earth. It's not poop in the street. No, it's not.
It's not wild lawlessness and
a
bar on every corner.
Nope, and brothels and just
everywhere.
Rampant sexually transmitted diseases. No, it's not that.
And the KKK.
And the KKK. It's heaven. And I'm sure that the fact that there was a lot of vacant land and remote areas, even around Denver at that time, where a large congregation could go and settle with no neighbors in a relatively favorable, sometimes depending on if you paid the right person, like set of rules. That didn't have anything to do with it. It's not that he needed to get out of Dodge, and here was a state not too far from him that he could kind of disappear to. Nope. It's God.
It's beautiful.
Wait. So, at this point, 1918, 1919, has he declared himself Jehovah? Has he given himself those titles?
Around this time.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he started that before or after his move to Denver.
Because, like, the vision, if you are God.
Again, I don't know that he considers himself god at this point. I think it's like the title, or he's like, maybe he's like God's avatar? I don't
He's God's sim here on Earth.
God doesn't have a task for him. He just sits in the corner, like
He just bobs his head. He just
Mhm.
wanders
He's just waiting.
around the tent walls, but he can't actually like get through the door. He just
Mhm.
does that
Then he
invisible
yells
walk.
at inanimate objects.
Obviously. Simlish.
Yep.
Oh my god. Speaking in tongues is just Simlish.
It's all coming together.
It is. Okay. I once again sidetracked us, as one does.
Okay. So he's like, I'm gonna go to Denver. It's where the Garden of Eden is. I'm out. California goes, no. In January of 1919, he's sentenced to 18 months imprisonment in the federal penitentiary at McNeil's Island in Washington for conspiracy to obstruct the draft law. But then they file for appeal, and so he's released on bond pending a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. So they appealed it all the way up.
Okay.
So they're like, okay, you can go for now. So he packs up and he goes to Denver. We don't hear anything. He does not make the tabloids for about 2 years. So, December of 1920. Please note also that he is about 64 years old at this point.
Okay.
According to articles in the Albuquerque Morning Journal and the Omaha Daily Bee, the Denver chief of police, Hamilton Armstrong, asked the district attorney to file charges against Joshua Sykes. So Armstrong accused Sykes of heading a cult called the Tabernacle of David, so that's his new church name.
Okay.
That allegedly had 600 followers in Denver.
Okay.
So it's like pretty good size.
Sizable. Less than the 144,000 that he needs in order to usher in the end of the world, the rebirth of the world.
He's still got 39 years, though, so.
Yeah, but if he keeps up at this rate,
and
you're honestly, not going to have that.
Some of the numbers get a little bit loosey-goosey here. But, yeah. These charges allocate These charges allege flagrant immorality, and that children of the church followers were hungry and ate from garbage cans on the way to school. Armstrong went on to claim that the ministry forbids marriage and that Sykes had left his wife and made Marie Frieda, a wealthy divorcee and faithful follower, the queen of the temple. It's kind of unclear if she was actually divorced or if she was a widow. I think she was actually a widow, but
okay.
Yeah. So, this is Armstrong again. He says that Sykes' followers call him Jehovah, and he is an exponent of free love and alleges that his teachings are a menace to the morals of the city of Denver, which is pretty hilarious given the time.
That's rich coming from you, my dude.
Right? He's probably on the payroll of like 6 brothels.
At least. Like, how many con artists are
all of them
paying you off right
in
now?
Denver at this time, and we're paying them.
There's tunnels leading from brothels to the Brown Palace so that, like, our governor can get some strange without it being public. Don't... like, no.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you just wanted to say we're worried about child abuse, okay, cool. Yeah,
the child abuse stuff seems legit. The rest is like,
but the
they're all
rest,
clutching.
That's a little pot calling kettle black.
Mm-hmm.
My guy.
So the New Britain Herald wrote, one petition charged that 2 children were neglected by their parents because of their adherence to Sykes' teachings. The other was filed by Everett Lampert, who said his wife spent most of her time at the tabernacle neglecting her children and that she refused to recognize him as her husband.
Well, because she's a citizen of heaven, and he is the ruler of heaven. So I'm married to all of you now.
Yeah.
And free love really only applies to whoever he wants to sleep with.
Yeah, it's only like the guy in charge.
Yeah.
Nobody
He's
else
the only
gets it.
person who can practice free love. Free for me is what that should actually be.
None for you.
None for you. Can we just change that term really across any cult that it comes up in? Free love means free for me, none for you.
Exactly. Yes. The Indiana Daily Times wrote that Sykes immerses disrobed women in a glass baptismal tank to make them faithful followers, telling them that his hands have healing powers and they have everlasting life and are no longer capable of sin. This one, I don't know, like it feels like it could be like just media panic, like trying to fan the flames.
They were naked.
Or he could have done it. I don't know.
It
also doesn't seem outside the realm of reality, so.
Yeah. This is also the era of like yellow journalism, like as shocking of a title or report as you can possibly give.
Right, it's like early clickbait.
Yeah, and he's insane. So it's entirely possible that he said the only way to achieve true spiritual rebirth is I must baptize you naked and then use my hands for your cleansing.
It's because the sin clings to the clothes. Didn't you know that?
That's what I say. That's what I think about that.
You are not the only one to think he was insane. The Ogden Standard Examiner stated, Joshua Sykes is not a criminal. He is nothing more than an unbalanced religious enthusiast, yielding to his passions and should be confined in a mental hospital. Those who accept his doctrines are weak-minded and should be directed in their affairs in much the same manner as are the wards of our juvenile courts.
Oh!
So they're like, he's not a criminal. He's just insane, and like, we should not give him power. He should not be in charge of anything, and neither should his followers.
Like, yeah. We haven't learned that lesson even now.
No.
Okay.
No. Sykes, for his part, was quoted as telling his followers, within the course of 7 weeks, every fine building and residence will be in our hands. We will convert these buildings into garages for our automobiles. Our chosen children will live in the Brown Palace Hotel, and we will have the rich Gentiles of this city for our servants. So he thinks, yeah.
Sir, with all due respect, the haze that you're referencing is, in fact, just unfiltered coal fumes from massive amounts of factories and fireplaces and
mining operations
and automobiles.
Wildfires. There were actually some large wildfires that year.
Yeah, because we have never not been on fire or flooded somehow.
I think it was actually in California, maybe, or Canada. I don't remember. It was elsewhere, but like we get that smoke.
That haze is pollution.
You should probably not go outside.
So okay.
Yeah.
That is the Lord's wrath. No, that's no EPA regulations. That's what that is.
Yeah. So he believes that the judgment is coming. His people are going to be left in charge of Denver, which is why they don't need material wealth now, because any day now, they're going to get all of the good stuff of Denver, and all of these rich jerks are going to be their servants.
That makes sense to me. I do love that he name dropped the Brown Palace. That's really nice.
He did. He did. You know what? It's lovely. I'm excited. Anyway. So, amidst these articles, Joshua Sykes is actually arrested on the charge of operating a confidence game. Apparently, he was accused of defrauding Ernest Lampert, a former follower, out of $150 by prophesying the end of the earth. So Lampert was persuaded he would have no further use for his worldly goods and gave all his money to Sykes. Okay. Which, bingo.
Got it. It's funny that the city will go after con men who they are not on the payroll of.
Exactly.
So
that's his real crime.
Yeah, that was his real crime.
He wasn't
not
offering
making enough,
the proper bribes.
Yeah, he wasn't making enough friends in high places in Denver.
Exactly. He's also accused of fleecing another former follower out of $1,000 in California by the same means earlier that year, like a year earlier. And I also saw some articles that reported he failed to appear in juvenile court on charges of contributing to the delinquency of dependent children, which checks out. Yeah. I didn't see a lot more on that, but yeah.
Who needs to go to school? Nobody. The world's ending.
So this is a wild coincidence. The following month, Sykes announces to his followers that he killed Hamilton Armstrong last night by absent treatment, the penalty of a curse heaped upon him. So remember, Armstrong is the chief of police. He's going after him.
Yeah, is he actually dead?
Yes. It just so happened that the chief of police had died early that morning of heart disease. I don't know if Sykes found that out and was like, look what I have done, or what.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
Or, Jehovah zaps. I don't...
Smite. He was...
Smite.
He was
smoted.
He was smote.
Smoted? Smited?
He died. And it was... Sykes rendered the wrath and judgment of the Lord upon him and smite him with his mighty power.
Exactly. Okay, so now remember, this whole time he is out on bond, waiting for his court case to go to the Supreme Court. So the same month that Armstrong dies, the Supreme Court decides they are not going to hear his case. And so Sykes leaves for San Francisco to surrender himself to federal authorities. He gets on a train to go back out west. However, he claims that he heard a whispering voice saying that Warren G. Harding would not be inaugurated on March 4th because the world would come to an end before that time. And as King of Heaven, it was his duty to return to Denver and remain with his flock at the finish. So he gets off the train and goes back to Denver.
The name dropping in this is elite. We got the Brown Palace and we got Warren G. Harding.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what are you going to do? As King of Heaven, you have responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And just drop everything to go to, what, the court of man? Please.
No. He will not be held down, nor is beholden to the laws of man. He is the higher power.
So at the same time, this is such a circus. Sykes' wife brings a lawsuit against Marie Frieda, Sykes' lover / the Queen of Heaven, for $50,000 for alleged alienation of the affections of Sykes.
Oop! Oh, we're getting good. Remember when that was a reason that you could sue someone? Alienation of affection. You could actually say in a court of law, hey, person B, I'm suing you because you drove my spouse away from me.
You stole my man. Now you
stole
owe
my
me
man.
Money.
Yeah. What a time.
The complaint states that Emma and Joshua Sykes were married in 1893, but that Mrs. Frieda, who is a widow, has obtained undue influence and control over Sykes and has completely alienated his affections from his wife.
Girl, why do you want him?
Because he's rolling in that cult leader money.
He's not going to give it to you.
It's just like, I want the money, and he can stay in Denver. I'm going to be out here in California.
Yeah, but you still need to support me. That was probably the angle, was like, yeah, like, you left me destitute. I don't want you back, but you will pay for me. Did he have children?
I mean, that'd be my angle.
With her?
Not with her, as far as I know.
Okay. So, girl, get that. You know what? Respect. Get that bag.
Right? So, the next month, we're in March of 1921 now. Police invade the temple of the Church of the Living God on a request from San Francisco that he be arrested, but he's not there. They find out he's preaching later that night, so they come back, but his followers spirit him away into an automobile, and they go on a car chase through Denver, and the police finally force his car onto the curb, and they arrest him. Then, for some reason, they release him. They give him a stay of execution on the condition that he leave today and give himself up. What about this man tells you that he's going to surrender himself?
The color of his skin.
That's it exactly.
Like,
the money in his bank account.
For real. Like, the hubris of law enforcement to not take him seriously in the regard that he is slippery and does not give a shit about your consequences. He has no intention of facing them. And definitely the fact that he's white.
Maybe they're afraid they're going to get smited.
He maybe.
He already took out the last chief of police. I don't know.
What do you think he's going to do to you?
Right? So instead, he, of course, says, nah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, guys!
And then they can't find him to rearrest him.
Because of course you're not.
Yeah.
Doofus.
So, 2 days later, they find out that he's at his girlfriend's apartment. Police can't get anybody to open the door for them, and so they had to climb from the roof of an adjoining house into the apartment. And Sykes tells the police, I was asleep. I didn't know you wanted me.
Another historic example that the audacity of a man knows no bounds. What?
Like, how how available was marijuana back at this time?
I mean, very.
Like, oh, God. Yeah. So, yeah. Now, at this time, his girlfriend, Marie, is taken to an insane ward of a county hospital for observation following a court order, because she is also losing it.
Okay.
So, Sykes goes to prison, and then when he gets back, his followers, like, damn near riot, because he got sentenced to, 18 months or something, so he wasn't gone forever.
Mm-hmm.
And they, practically started a riot. They were, so jazzed to have their now martyred leader back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, Marie is having her own drama right now. And it gets a little fuzzy because it's old-timey newspapers, right?
Mm-hmm.
She had charged her brother-in-law with the abduction of her daughter, but then he was acquitted. So apparently, when she got divorced or when her husband died, custody of her daughter was given to her brother-in-law, and she was trying to get her daughter back. She did win the petition for the removal of her property, which I'm assuming means her daughter because the 1900s of it all, and was given $150,000. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing, but apparently they're very well off.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she is now out of the... She has no longer been institutionalized?
I think she was just there, like, briefly for observation, and then they let her go.
Which is also shocking, because...
It really is.
That...
Most of the time... she has all this money.
Yeah. Because she could buy her way out.
It also appears that she had Sykes' baby as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In the article about the case, it says that Mrs. Frieda declared that she came under the influence of Sykes while a member of his religious sect known as the Temple of David. Sykes told her of a vision he had in which he saw his wife torn to bits by an earthquake and saw Mrs. Frieda as the new Queen of Heaven. So, I think I missed in here, about the time he's getting arrested, he's predicting, like, an earthquake. With that whole, like, Harding thing, he's like, there's going to be an earthquake before he can be sworn into office.
Ah, yes.
And in this, he's like, conveniently, my current wife dies, and you're the Queen of Heaven, yay!
Stay with me, baby. I swear, everything's different with you. I feel this connection. You're not like her.
No.
She's crazy, and is just, like, not supportive, and she's mean, and she's vindictive.
She's not a true believer.
She's not a true believer, but you are. And that's why I told myself that you were the one for me. And
you've been chosen by God.
No.
Also me.
You're not like the other girls. She fell. As we all... It's a canon event, and you can't change it. At least once in your life, you will fall for the... You're not like the other girls. Girls, in this case, is, in parentheses, insert girls, gays, days, and everywhere in between. You're not like the rest. And she fell for it. Oh, boo-boo.
She fell for it. Yep. So we're going to skip forward again. This time to about 5 years later in 1926.
How is this man not dead?
Who knows? Local schools start expelling the children of Sykes' cult because they gradually started refusing to recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. Wow, that's a crazy thing.
The ACLU gets involved, and they say that reciting the pledge was against the religious tenets of Sykes' church. And they say, although they respected the flag as well as the laws and Constitution of the United States, they believed that reciting the Pledge of Allegiance was a form of idolatry, and successfully negotiated a settlement with the local school board by the start of school the next year. So they all got to go back to school.
Okay. I mean... Look, he's a cult, and he's like Bad News Bears, but there is a separation of church and state for a reason, and rights is rights. And these are kids.
They're kids. Yeah.
Different conversation when these are kids.
It's interesting because it's still, like, a thing now. I asked my son about it the other day. I was like, do you recite the Pledge of Allegiance? And he's like, sometimes. And he's like, actually, last year when he started 5th grade, everybody did. Sometimes wouldn't. Because we told him he didn't have to. And he's like, now, like half the people don't. I'm like, huh. So there you go.
That is simply a fact that kids will do or won't do. Trying to get kids to do or not do anything in a classroom setting is always a bit of a crapshoot.
In any setting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the last we hear about Sykes until his death on February 25th, 1929. He was, I think, in his 70s at this point. He had told his followers that he would get your bingo card out, rise again. So they refused to let the coroner take his body. The coroner had to arrange to come back in 4 days and told the followers that if Sykes has not risen by that time, an autopsy will be performed and the funeral will go forward as it does for ordinary mortals.
Mic drop, by the way. That is an incredibly unintentionally hard line. Like,
right? I feel like you have to have like that personality to be a coroner. Like,
yeah,
you're not gonna take people's shit.
yeah. He's God. He's gonna come back. Well, if he comes back, he's got 4 days to do it. Otherwise, we're gonna bury him like everybody else.
Yep.
So, did you just tell me that this man does all this bullshit and gets away with it? His maximum consequence here on Earth is 18 months in prison?
I did, yes. And I don't know what happened to his cult afterwards. Like, it just seems to have faded away.
Well,
or maybe they joined other cults. I don't know. He didn't even make it to his predetermined final days.
What happened to the Queen of the Temple after her award? She just disappears?
I don't know. She just disappears too. It was this whole like dramatic saga played out in the newspapers and like all the newspapers. So like one would run the story and then the same story would be in newspapers like all over the country the next day or two. It was like, yeah. And then we just don't hear from him again, and I don't have any other sources.
Well, cults tend to not survive outside the death or downfall of their leader, because you have centered all of it around one power, and that power is you and your ego. So when you're gone, there's that vacuum and nobody knows what to do.
There's a bonus cat that I didn't know was in here.
Oh, bonus kitty.
She's a very timid jumper, so it takes her a minute.
Meow meows. Beautiful baby. Oh, I love you.
It's a palate cleansing cat.
I can kind of hear her purrs too. Oh, that's nice.
She has the loudest purr.
Her purr's good. It's like a sound bath. Kitty purrs are a sound bath.
Yep. So that is our old-timey cult, and I think I'm gonna hold on to our old-timey disaster. There is cat fur everywhere now. I'm gonna hold on to our old-timey disaster for our share spookery later. It'll be a good one.
Thank you for this. That was a very nice episode after so much intense history that I brought to the table with Auraria.
This is true.
That was very needed and very entertaining. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. I thought it was very entertaining.
As always, you are a genius of your craft.
Aw, thank you. Yeah, so I guess our next episode will be Katie's turn again. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I like it. If you can't get enough of us, you can find us on social media. Two Girls Who Scare Easily with the number 2 pretty much everywhere. Unless we're not there. I don't know.
Wherever numbers are sold.
Or you can email us directly at twogirlswhoscareeasily@gmail.com. Also with the number 2. Otherwise, I don't have anything else. So stay smart.
Stay safe.
And stay spooky.
Bye.